I'm here today with Greg Jemmeson from Jemmeson Fisher Solicitors and Accountants. Good afternoon, Greg.
Hey, Brian.
Today's subject is about staff buying. We're hearing a lot that staff, good staff, you want to keep them, and so a lot of the principals say, well, I want to let them buy into my business. How would that work?
Okay, first thing we would do is we sit down with the principal and say, what do you want to achieve? They need to map out what their strategy and the reason that they want the buy-in. The buy-in might be because the principal wants to slowly exit out of the business. They might have a set time frame. The other thing is that they've got key staff members they want to bring in and help them to grow the business. So working out that strategy first before we do anything. Then we need to identify the key staff members that we will make this approach to, but then we need to get their expectations in place. Now, one of the big things is just because you become a shareholder in the business doesn't mean you get a pay rise. It means you have an entitlement to dividends and entitlement to the growth in the business. So we need to work that out. Okay, we need to have clear dividend strategies. People don't want to just buy in and know that they're not going to get any dividends, so they want to know what the future and the growth of the business is. Then we would go through the process of having the business valued, which would take into account some goodwill, the value of the rent roll against any liabilities. And I find a really helpful manner is to prepare something like a prospectus where the vendor sits down, or the shareholder and principal sits down, works out the history of the business, where they're going, how the valuation works, who are the key staff members, what the dividend policy is, and then we set out a shareholders agreement. Once we've identified who the key people are, depending on how much of the shares are going to be issued or sold down, they might be minority shareholders. So of course with a minority shareholder, you don't want somebody coming in with 10%, you the principal having 90%, and then you're not being able to do anything because the 10% shareholder stops you. On the other side, we have to have a situation where the 10% shareholder is not bullied by the 90% shareholder. So we have to find a fine balance about what's right, what's wrong. So a standard shareholders agreement we would then put in place would be what we call preemptive rights. So if somebody wants to sell their shares, they would then be offered to the other shareholders before it went out to the general public. We would have buyback provisions, so if somebody wanted to sell after 12 months, there might be a discounted rate. So it's encouraging people to stay in the business for longer. We'd have things like drag along and tag along provisions, and what they simply mean is if I'm the majority shareholder, say I have 60%, somebody comes along and offers a massive amount of money of the business, I can drag the other minor shareholders along with me and they're forced to sell. We put all of those things into place, such contingencies if somebody loses their licence, is bankrupt, buyback provisions, a clear dividend policy in the shareholders agreement. So it's a very fine balancing act to get this right, but first and foremost the principal needs to determine what they want to achieve out of this sales process.
Well, it seems to me like if you have the concept that you want to keep key staff, the first thing they should do is give you a call.
Certainly.
You won't mind talking to them?
Certainly not.
Thank you very much for all the information there, Greg.
Thanks, Brian.